Welcome to the Global News Podcast from the BBC. Hello, I'm Oliver Conway. And today we're joined by our South Asia specialist Anbarasan Etirajan to talk about Pakistan. Now, Pakistan has been positioning itself as a key mediator in the US-Iran war, but it's experiencing violence and political turmoil at home. Let's start in Pakistani-administered Kashmir. Tell us about the deadly election protests which have been taking place there.
Well, if you look at the Pakistani media newspapers today, there will be three different stories. One is about the ongoing tensions and violence in Pakistan-administered Kashmir. Second one is the attack on a police checkpost in the northwest in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and also violence in Balochistan. So that clearly gives you a picture of what's happening in Pakistan. Let's unpick one by one. First, the ongoing tensions in Pakistan-administered Kashmir. For weeks, a civil rights group called Joint Awami Action Committee have been holding sit-ins, demonstrations and rallies with various demands. One of the key demands being they wanted electoral changes to the local legislature, basically for 12 seats that are being reserved for people who came from Indian-administered Kashmir. So they say, the civil rights groups, they say that gives them a disproportionate influence in regional legislature, and also this should be given to people who are living in Pakistan-administered Kashmir, not outside, elsewhere in Pakistan. That has been the main demand. Now, according to various estimates, more than 30 people, some even say up to 40, have been killed in the ongoing clashes between security forces and the civil rights group. And the internet has been patchy for several weeks there. And now the protesters, they want to march from the city of Rawalakot to the regional capital, Muzaffarabad. Now, the government has deployed hundreds of even thousands of security personnel there, and the government's argument has been any change to the regional legislature has to be done through the constitution. That means you have to change the constitution, so it cannot be done now. And in between, the elections are happening. The first phase of the election was over. The next phases will be two more, one on the 2nd of August, one on the 10th. So a tense situation prevails there now.
And of course, this area is very politically sensitive, not least because of the long-running dispute with India.
Yes, the Kashmir region has been claimed by both India and Pakistan in its entirety, but they control only in part. And this region has led to wars between the two countries, and India has also deployed hundreds of thousands of troops, and it is battling an anti-India insurgency in the Jammu and Kashmir area, which is under the control of India. And the Pakistan-administered Kashmir, there have been protests even before. That was about, they wanted subsidized food, and they also wanted to reduce some of the perks for the regional representatives. But this is the first time where they see these clashes are going on for weeks. So it is attracting attention across the border as well. But at the same time, several political parties have been criticizing the government's handling, and civil society groups saying that, dozens of people and the protesters have been killed. And the Pakistani government banned this Joint Awami Action Committee last month as a terror group. And they say that they want to hold elections, and they have rejected the demands so far.
Now, that is on the east of Pakistan. Looking to the west, the border with Afghanistan, a recent UN report said that some 500 people had been killed there, 500 civilians, between October and June. What is the latest in that area?
Even last night, there was a major attack on a police checkpost in Hangu area of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, in which 10 police officers were killed, 15 others were injured when the government tried to rush in reinforcements, and the security forces say they had killed 15 militants suspected to be from the Taliban group. Now, there have been a number of attacks on security forces in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. This is bordering Afghanistan. Hundreds of soldiers and insurgents and civilians have been killed for several years now. Now, who is this TTP, the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan? They want an Islamic governance in areas under their control, and they have been waging this insurgency against Pakistani security forces for years now. Thousands of people have been killed. Pakistan is accusing the Kabul administration now that the Taliban authorities there of providing a safe haven to these insurgents, and that has led to tensions between Islamabad and Kabul. And Pakistan carried out several airstrikes, drone attacks on what it claims to be suspected militant positions across the border in Afghanistan. And in fact, that has also led to border skirmishes between the forces. And that's where the UN says that hundreds of people, civilians, women and children have been killed in these attacks in Afghanistan because of these Pakistani attacks. However, Pakistan maintains that, the Kabul administration, they are providing a safe haven for these militants, which is very categorically rejected by the Taliban authorities in Afghanistan.
Now, you also mentioned Balochistan. What's going on there?
Now, in the southwestern province of Balochistan, there is an active insurgency. In fact, the claim for more autonomy or a separate region, Balochistan, has been going on for decades there. The main group which is battling in that area is Balochistan Liberation Army, BLA, which has been banned by the Pakistani government. And what they say is that the region is now rich with minerals, particularly the mines are with the gold and copper. And the federal administration, they have been exploiting these mineral resources from this region, but they are not getting anything in return for the province. So the economic condition of the province remains poor, and the people are not gaining any advantage. But the Pakistani government rejects these accusations by various Baloch groups. And now these Baloch rebels, they have been attacking economic positions. In fact, earlier this year, they staged a very well-coordinated attack on 12 different places in Balochistan. That was one of the biggest attacks. So you have hundreds of soldiers and insurgents and civilians have been killed in Balochistan in the past few years with this insurgency rising. It is also a key economic area for Pakistan, not only for Pakistan and also for China, because China is investing about $50 billion in this China-Pakistan economic corridor. One of the key projects is about the Gwadar port in Balochistan that connects all the way to China. China is also building up infrastructure. So these Baloch rebels have also carried out attacks on some of these Chinese projects. In fact, many the Chinese workers, they were targeted. So it is also having a bigger ramification. And this is the area where earlier this year, when the Trump administration said they wanted to invest more than $1 billion to invest in this rich mineral area in some of these mines.
Now, even while it's suffering all this turmoil at home, Pakistan is active on the world stage. It signed defence agreements with Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. What will those Gulf states be getting out of it?
Now, what is happening in the Gulf region is also having an impact on Pakistan and vice versa. Now, you see that US has been the net security provider for many Gulf states like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE, and for several other countries. Now, with the war with Iran, the situation is changing. And about 3 years ago, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia signed a military pact, a defense agreement, which is like what they call as attack on one country will be treated as an attack on both the countries. They also talk about defense cooperation and intelligence sharing. But how far it is going to be practical, that has been the question, even though there have been demands about why Pakistan is not involved with the Houthi rebels attacking Saudi Arabia. Pakistan's neighbor is Iran, and he doesn't want to antagonize Iran at this stage. So they have the geographical compulsion. They're not actively involved in the ongoing conflict, but they are mediating between Iran and the US. And with the Kuwait, which is a slightly softened version of the agreement with Saudi, it was not about the mutual defense pact. It is more about cooperation. So what this shows is Gulf is very important for Pakistan. Pakistan wants to make sure that there is a stability. Stability there is important for Pakistan's economy because Pakistan gets about $40 billion in remittances from workers abroad. Nearly half of them comes from the Gulf region because millions of Pakistani workers are there. So with the changing dynamics in the Gulf region, you see that many players coming in, and some of the Gulf states like Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and even Qatar and Turkey are also talking about defense cooperation with Pakistan because Pakistan has a very strong army. It has nuclear weapons, and it is also well connected in the Islamic world. And that is why some of these Gulf states, now looking at what is happening, how they are being targeted by Iran, they wanted an alternative security mechanism to protect themselves. And that's why they have reached out to Pakistan.
Now, arguably, Pakistan's biggest diplomatic success was bringing the US and Iran together to sign that interim peace deal in the middle of June. But the Memorandum of Understanding, as it was called, seems to be falling apart. So what is Pakistan doing now?
In fact, today, a Pakistani foreign ministry spokesperson was talking about how they are trying their best with asking both parties, both the United States and Iran, to return to the negotiating table. Pakistan still says that there is room for diplomacy and that they don't want any escalation in the Strait of Hormuz because it is going to have an impact on their economy and energy supplies. And that's why even today they are urging both parties now return to the negotiating table.
Anbarasan, thank you. Anbarasan Etirajan, our South Asia specialist. If you'd like to hear more from the Global News podcast, click the link below. But for now, thanks for watching.